This is disc number 2.
Field gun 1, ready?
Yes, sir.
On my mark. Fire! You've missed the target by a yard, Unit 1. Not bad at all. Let's see if you can do better, Unit 2.
Yes, sir.
On my mark. Fire! Direct hit. Good shot, Unit 2. Now, Unit 3, you've seen their trajectory. Let's see what you can do. Fire when ready.
Yes, sir.
Are we all set, Wilkinson?
The shell's in the breech, Jenks.
You taking aim, Blakey?
Yes, Jenks.
Right then. Fire on 3. 1, 2, 3!
Great Scott, the gun's blown up! Are you men all right?
I'm fine, sir.
Me too. But just take a look at Blakey.
Dear God, he's dead.
In science, one reasons by analogy. So when mankind is confronted by experiences entirely beyond his understanding, it takes an individual with intelligence and bravery in equal measure to push back the boundaries of the unknown. In London, in 1900, the solution to supernatural occurrences were investigated by a man who was famous for his dealings with the unknown and the worlds of the dead. Jerrem Lee, Ghost Hunter. Jerrem Lee, Ghost Hunter, starring Jerry Robbins as Jerrem Lee and Jeremy Benson as Arthur Bennett. Tonight's episode, The Haunting of Private Wilkinson.
My name is Arthur Bennett, colleague of that renowned investigator of the strange and supernatural, Jerrem Lee. Over the years, Lee had received letters from all manner of people requesting his urgent assistance, from persons within the royal household to members of the cabinet. On that September morning in 1901, Lee declared over breakfast that the correspondence he had just opened was a first.
Well, I must say, this is unusual, even for me.
What's that you say, Lee?
This letter, Bennett. Have a look yourself.
Dear Mr. Jerrem Lee, come at once. Matter of security to the Empire. Yours, Captain F.J. Thorndyke, 2nd Battalion, Royal Field Artillery. Reads more like an order than a request.
You know, I cannot recall a time when I have been engaged by the army before.
I'm not surprised. I imagine most military minds are positively closed to anything supernatural.
So, Bennett, shall we present ourselves to the captain later this afternoon?
Indeed. Why not?
Looks like the place.
Yes, but how do we get in?
Looks like they've sent out a welcoming party to meet us.
Halt. Who goes there?
There's no need to point that gun, old man. We've been asked to report to Captain Thorndyke. I have his letter here.
Very good, sir. Follow me.
Yes?
Two gentlemen to see you, sir.
Are you Mr. Jerrem Lee?
I am. And this is my colleague, Arthur Bennett.
Pleased to meet you, Captain.
Then come in and take a seat. And Corporal,
Yes, Captain.
not a word to anyone about who these two men are. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
So, Captain, how can we be of assistance?
Good. I like a man who is direct and to the point. I'd better start by explaining that part of our operations here involve testing new equipment.
That explains the thoroughness of your security arrangements.
They have to be tight, Mr. Bennett, as recently we have been testing a new type of field gun. Now, gentlemen, you must understand this is no ordinary weapon. It has a unique loading mechanism which promises to make it the most efficient on the battlefield.
It sounds most impressive.
The gun requires a 3-man team to load, aim, and fire the shell. But last week during training we had a terrible misfortune.
Oh?
A shell jammed in the gun's barrel and the thing went off.
Was anyone injured?
One man was killed outright, and we were dashed lucky no one else was hurt.
And this tragic accident, is that why you've asked us here?
In part, yes. After the incident, I called the men together and gave them light duties for the rest of the day. You know every man has their own theories on how to handle death, but here in the Army we can't allow the men to dwell on things. So next day I took them back out onto the firing range again. Fire field gun 1! Good shot, Unit 1. Unit 2, fire! You've come up short again, Unit 2. Increase your trajectory by half a degree.
Yes, sir.
Now, Unit 3, I want you to put yesterday out of your minds and carry on like soldiers. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
Good. Then fire when ready, Private Wilkinson. Well, get on with it, man.
I can't, sir.
Why ever not?
It's Blakey. I think I can see him.
What the devil are you talking about?
He's there, out on the range.
Pull yourself together, man. Private Blake is dead.
But I swear I can see him through the gun's sight. He's just standing out there.
He's right, sir. I can see him too. He's next to the target, and he's waving his arms.
Not you two, Jenkins.
But, sir...
I want the pair of you to report to the doctor at once. And I don't want to hear any more talk of your seeing fallen comrades. Do you hear?
Yes, sir.
Death can do funny things to a man sometimes.
But to a pair of men, both seeing the same thing?
Both Privates Wilkinson and Jenkins were working the gun with Blake when he died. At the time, I reasoned that they might have been affected in some way.
Still, that wasn't the end of the matter.
No, it wasn't. Next day, I had a knock at my office door. Privates Wilkinson and Jenkins, you wish to see me?
Yes, Captain. It's about Private Blake.
I thought I told you before, the best thing you can do is to try to put it out of your mind.
But, sir...
Oh, I know it may seem hard at first, but you're both soldiers now, and you're going to have to face death sooner or later.
But we can't put it out of our minds.
Why ever not?
He won't leave us alone, that's why.
We saw him hanging around the barracks last night. He was all shot up, like when we found him after the explosion.
Look here, the pair of you. I want you both to take a couple of days off as leave and do whatever it takes to get Private Blake out of your heads. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
And when you return, see that I don't hear any more talk of ghosts. Do you hear?
Yes, sir!
Very well. Dismissed.
But still the problem didn't end.
No, it did not. Next day, I took the men out on the firing range once more, only this time with a different team manning their gun. Fire field gun 1! Direct hit. You're improving, Unit 1. Now, Unit 2, on my mark. Fire! Another direct hit. Good work, Unit 2. Now, Unit 3, let's see if you can continue this run of form. Fire when ready. Well, get on with it.
But, sir, we can't.
What the devil do you mean by that?
Have a look through your field glasses, sir.
What am I supposed to be looking for?
There, out on the range. Can you see him?
You mean some fools out there during target practice? Great Scott! It can't be. It looks just like Private Blake. I wouldn't have believed it if I hadn't seen it with my own eyes.
And what exactly do you want us to do?
Find out what the devil's going on. It's bad for morale, and the men won't go out on the firing range.
I can't say that I blame them.
It is more serious than you think. The men don't know it yet, but we're due to leave for South Africa in a week. Those guns are badly needed in the Transvaal, and I have to get them properly trained before we leave. Now do you see my predicament?
Perfectly. Do you have something in mind?
Here. I've had 2 passes made up for you as officers from the Ministry of War. They should allow you to ask any questions you need to.
Thank you. There is one more thing.
Name it.
Is there an office we can use? I should like to start by interviewing the 2 soldiers you mentioned.
Privates Wilkinson and Jenkins.
Yes.
Very good. I'll send for them at once. You can use my office if you want.
Thank you.
there's one more thing before you start.
Yes?
For heaven's sake, don't tell the men who you are. They're jumpy enough as it is without being told there's a ghost hunter prowling around.
I prefer the term psychical detective.
I don't care what you call yourself. Just keep your activities under your hat. Understand?
I think you've made yourself quite clear. Come in. Private Jenkins.
You wanted to see me, sir?
Take a seat, Jenkins. Do you know who we are?
No, sir.
We're from the Ministry, and we've been sent down to ask you a couple of questions.
As you like, sir.
This new field gun, what is your impression of it?
Well, she's got a good range on her, that's for certain.
I understand there was an accident recently involving you and some other men.
Our gun blew up, killing Private Blake.
Do you know what caused the explosion?
Well, it's not my place to say, is it?
Why ever not?
I'm not one to point the finger at others. However, I'll be formally requesting to join a different battalion.
Really, Jenkins, this is no time for insinuations. If you have something to say, then say it. Let me ask you again. Why do you think the field gun failed?
In 2 words, Private Wilkinson.
Meaning he made a mistake?
Look, it stands to reason, does it? That gun has been working well all week. Private Blake hands Wilkinson the shell, then Wilkinson loads the breech. I take aim and get ready to fire. When I press the trigger, the barrel explodes and Blakey gets a lump of shrapnel in him.
Then you think that Wilkinson didn't load the shell correctly?
I don't think. I know.
How can you be so sure?
Like I said, it stands to reason. The rest of that gun was in perfect working order.
Are you certain of that?
All they did was change the barrel and give it back to us.
From this you deduce it could only have been an error on Wilkinson's part that caused the accident?
And I'm not the only one who thinks it's his fault.
Meaning?
You asked for me to be straight, and straight I'm being.
Go on.
Private Wilkinson and I have been having these little visitations.
From whom?
Now look, I'm not asking you to believe me, but ever since the accident, we've been seeing him again.
Him?
Blakey, that's who. And he's not a pretty sight to look at neither, with his head all bloody and arm all half off.
And when was the last time you saw him?
Last night when I returned to the barracks after a spot of leave. It was after 10 and lights were out. All I was thinking about was getting my head down for a good night's sleep. Back to this lovely home from home. I could do with a good kip. Now who's that standing there? Is that you, Wilkinson? Why are you standing at the foot of your bed like that? Dear God, that's not Wilkinson, it's Blakey. What is it, lad? Why do you keep coming back? What? He's raising his hand and pointing at Wilkinson. It was him, wasn't it? That's what you're trying to tell me.
Did he speak or say anything?
No. He just stood there, pointing. And that's when I knew what he wanted to tell me.
You believe he had a message for you?
Yes. That Wilkinson was responsible for his death, and I'll go the same way if I don't get out. That's why I've got to ask for a transfer, and I don't want to be near him no more. The man's a liability, I tell you.
Private Wilkinson, take a seat, won't you?
Thank you, sir.
We're here to investigate the recent death of Private Blake.
You think it was my fault, don't you?
I assure you, we have a totally open mind on the matter.
Do you? I know what they're saying about me.
Go on.
That I didn't load the shell properly, and that's why it misfired. But I swear I didn't, and that's the honest truth.
We've heard certain rumors.
About Blake being seen since his death.
You must be mad. I saw him go with my very own eyes.
We're here to help, Wilkinson. You must trust us if we are to get to the bottom of this matter. And tell us truthfully, has he visited you since his death?
Look, I don't know why he's haunting me. I've done nothing wrong.
Then you have seen him again.
How couldn't I? He stands at the foot of my bed every night.
Does he say anything to you?
He just points at me and then beckons me to come with him.
And have you ever followed him?
No,
Why ever not?
because he wants to lead me all the way to hell, that's why.
Son! Listen up, men. I've got a real treat in store for you. We're going on an overnight march. All right, settle down. I want you to get your kit and return here at 2100 hours. Private Wilkinson,
Sir?
you won't be joining us.
But sir,
I've instructions that you are to speak to those government men once more. Do you hear?
But I've already spoken to them.
That's an order, Wilkinson. They're waiting for you in the barracks. Go and see them at once.
You wanted to see me?
Wilkinson! How do you feel about the supernatural?
I want nothing to do with ghosts.
But what if they want something with you?
I think Bennett has rather hit the nail on the head, don't you?
Who are you? You're not from the government?
We're here to help. That's what's important.
And just how are you going to do that?
Tonight, when Blake returns, you're going to follow him.
And what if I refuse?
Then you risk spending the rest of your life being haunted.
Is that what you want? Private Blake visiting you every night?
All right, I'll do it.
Have no fear, we'll not leave you unprotected.
What can you do against a ghost like him?
Firstly, I will draw a pentagram around your bed.
A pentagram?
A 5-sided star joined with a circle of salt. Blake will not be able to cross this. And if anything untoward occurs, we must all return to its safety. That goes for you too, Bennett.
I understand, Lee.
But what happens if he wants us to leave the barracks?
I have here a silver pentagram. Wear it across your heart, like so. It's not as powerful a defense as the larger pentagram, but it should shield your soul from any direct attack.
But what happens if he wants us to leave the barracks?
If it was only our lives at risk, I wouldn't be so worried. Now move this bed so I can mark out the pentagram. When it's done, we shall have to wait and see if Blake returns.
Still sound asleep. I think all this business has worn him out.
I shouldn't wonder. Listen. Do you hear something?
Half his face is missing.
He's not ready to look at, I grant you. But the most important thing is that our presence here hasn't scared him off.
He's standing at the end of Wilkinson's bed, just as Jenkins said.
Wake up, Wilkinson. He's here.
Blakey, is that you again?
It's all right, Wilkinson. We're here with you.
I told you he would come.
He's beckoning for you to follow him. Why don't we see what he wants?
I don't think I can.
Come, you must be brave if you are to free yourself of this spirit.
Look, he wants you to go with him out of the barracks.
I'll only go if you come with me.
We'll be with you all the way. Have no concerns about that.
Where do you think he's taking us?
He stopped outside that building. Do you know what it is?
That's the armory.
Can we get inside?
But it's locked at night.
Captain Thorndyke gave me these. One of them should fit. Aha! Now, give me a hand with this door.
He's leading us to the field guns.
There. He's pointing out one gun in particular.
But that's our gun.
You mean the one you were using when Blake died?
Yes, you can tell by the new barrel.
What can he be trying to tell us?
He's saying it's my fault. He thinks I'm the one who did him in, and now he's going to haunt me forever.
Mr. Lee, why have you asked us to gather on the firing range like this?
With your permission, Captain, I want to try an experiment.
What did you have in mind?
The field guns have been set up as I requested.
Yes, they're all ready for firing.
Jenkins, you and Wilkinson must take up your usual positions in the 3-man team.
I've made it plain. I don't want to work with him ever again.
Private Jenkins, you'll do as Mr. Lee commands, and that's an order.
No, he's right. I am a liability.
Wilkinson, when we first met you, you were convinced you loaded the gun correctly.
That was before last night.
You must have faith in yourself if we are to see this through. Bennett, can you take up Blake's role?
I'll do my best.
Right. Take up your positions by the first gun.
Load the shell into the chamber, Wilkinson.
Shell loaded, sir.
Private Jenkins, take aim.
Target in sight, sir.
Fire when ready, Mr. Bennett.
Firing field gun.
Are you satisfied, Lee?
Perfectly, but our experiment is only half complete. We must repeat the process with the gun whose barrel exploded.
You heard him, men. Take up your positions. You know what to do, Wilkinson. Place the shell into the chamber.
Shell in position, sir.
Private Jenkins, take aim.
Target in sight, sir.
Get ready to fire, Mr. Bennett.
I'm ready.
Captain, would I be right in thinking this gun hasn't been fired since Private Blake died?
Now you mention it, I think you might be right.
Because each time you've tried to fire it, you've been disrupted.
Then you have a theory you wish to test.
Let's just see what happens, shall we?
Fire on 3, Mr. Bennett.
Yes, sir.
1, 2...
No, Bennett, wait. Out in the firing range. Can you see something?
It's Blakey. Why won't he leave me alone?
He seems to be headed this way.
What on earth is going on, Lee? Is he going to attack us?
Have patience, Captain. Let's just see what he wants.
Well, I hope you know what you're doing.
So do I. Private Blake? What is upsetting you so that your spirit has remained on this realm?
I know why he's here. Vengeance on you, Wilkinson.
If that's what you're after, then be done with it. I can't stand this anymore.
Are you here for revenge, Blake?
Great Scott, he's shaking his head. He must understand you, Lee.
Then why are you here?
He's pointing at the gun.
That's what he did last night.
What about the gun troubles you so?
Look, he wants us to take the side plate off.
See to it, Jenkins.
Yes, sir.
Let's see what we have inside. Can you see anything out of place?
Look, I said it was checked over, didn't I?
Yes, I remember.
Then it's all fine.
You're going to have to help us again, Blake. What precisely is it?
He's pointing at the firing pin.
Take the shell out of the chamber. Now, it's been safely removed. Let's fire the gun and see what happens. There, did you see?
The firing pin didn't come through straight.
Is that why the gun misfired?
Private Blake seems to think so. You said this gun was of new design. I think you'd better get your weapons engineers to take a look at this, don't you?
I'll contact them immediately.
And for Private Blake's sake, you must promise that this particular gun is never used again.
Don't worry, I'll have it decommissioned. You can count on that.
And what about Blake? Where's he going?
To the place he should have gone when he was killed.
Rest in peace, Private Blake.
I think your problem is at an end, Captain Thorndyke.
Mr. Lee, the lives of my men are critical to me. I can't thank you enough.
Don't thank me. Thank Private Blake. He's the one who managed to remain on this realm. I've always said that it's a capital mistake to view all spirits as being purely malevolent in nature.
You mean sometimes people remain on this earth to warn others against forthcoming events?
Precisely.
Private Blake being a case in point?
You see, I was immediately struck by the fact that Blake reappeared when the same gun was to be fired. That, combined with Wilkinson's assurance that he loaded the shell correctly, indicated to me that something else had to be wrong.
Then you weren't surprised when Blake's ghost led us to the armory?
No, it only served to confirm my suspicions. But I still didn't know exactly what it was that bothered Blake so.
So you arranged that experiment?
It was a risk. Ghosts can be sensitive things. I wondered if he would know that I would never have let you fire the gun.
Do you think he saved many lives?
If they had produced more of that gun, each with an inherent fault, it's possible. But you know, I don't think that's why he returned. There's a unique bond between comrades in arms. It's a strength that can go beyond death.
Then it was Wilkinson and Jenkins he was most concerned about.
He knew that if the gun was fired again, they could have all been killed.
So he tried to warn them the best he could.
Yes, I think so.
Lee, I have one more question.
Well?
Where has Blake's spirit gone, now he can finally rest in peace?
Now there, Bennett, is a question even I can't answer.
You have been listening to Jerrem Lee Ghost Hunter, and tonight's episode, The Haunting of Private Wilkinson, starring Jerry Robbins as Jerrem Lee and Jeremy Benson as Arthur Bennett. Featured were Lincoln Clark as Captain Thorndyke, Buck Lepard as Private Wilkinson, and Derek Allerud as Private Jenkin. Also heard were Ellie Hirschman, Glenn Bartram, and Dan Powell. Jerrem Lee Ghost Hunter was created and written by Gareth Tilley and produced by Brian Rothruck. The executive producer was Mark Vanderberg, and the program was directed by Jerry Robbins with music by Jeffrey Gage. Additional music by Kevin MacLeod. For the Colonial Radio Theatre on the air, this is David Alt speaking.
Constance?
Yes, Aunt.
Could you come and help me with my hat? I can't seem to get it straight.
Of course. What was that? Mother's vase. Whatever caused that to fall? It's you again, isn't it? Stop it! Why can't you just leave me in peace?
What is it, Constance? I thought I heard something.
It was here, Aunt. It tried to throw those ornaments at me.
You don't mean your ghost, do you?
Yes, it's here again.
Are you sure it isn't just your imagination?
No, Aunt, and it's getting worse. If it doesn't stop soon, someone is going to get hurt.
In science, one reasons by analogy. So when mankind is confronted by experiences entirely beyond his understanding, it takes an individual with intelligence and bravery in equal measure to push back the boundaries of the unknown. In London, in 1900, the solution to supernatural occurrences were investigated by a man who was famous for his dealings with the unknown and the worlds of the dead, Jerrem Lee, ghost hunter. Jerrem Lee, Ghost Hunter, starring Jerry Robbins as Jerrem Lee and Jeremy Benson as Arthur Bennett. Tonight's episode, The Mystery of Grange Manor.
My name is Arthur Bennett, colleague of that renowned investigator of the strange and supernatural, Jerrem Lee. When I consider the many cases we shared together, I am always struck by the terrible mystery we faced in the autumn of 1901 at Grange Manor. It started on a quiet morning when I decided to pay a visit to my friend at his lodgings on Half Moon Street. These also acted as his consulting rooms, where clients brought him the most curious of cases.
You've come just at the right time, Bennett.
Really?
I have a prospective client who should be arriving at any moment. Ah, that'll be her now.
Her?
Miss Constance Scott Hampton. But why don't you let her in? No doubt she will explain all.
Sounds intriguing. I'll fetch her right away.
Yes. And if her aunt is who I think, this should be a most interesting case. Come in.
Miss Scott Hampton to see you?
Come in and do take a seat.
Thank you. You are Mr. Jerrem Lee, aren't you?
Indeed I am.
And you deal with ghosts?
Amongst other things.
Then I hope you can assist me.
I shall endeavour to be of service. Permit me to introduce my colleague, Arthur Bennett.
Pleased to meet you.
He has proved invaluable on my most recent cases, and with your permission, I should like his opinion on what we are about to discuss.
Of course.
But before we begin, I wondered if you were by any chance related to the famous medium Isabel Beauchamp.
Yes, despite her different surnames, she's my aunt.
She took Beauchamp as a stage name, I believe.
That's right, and she has been of great help to me in recent months.
Oh?
Perhaps I'd better start at the beginning. My mother and father died shortly after each other a couple of years ago. I was only 18 at the time, and being their only child, the estate was placed in trust to be passed on to me on my 21st birthday.
I see.
But before I took up my role as the lady of Grange Manor, it was agreed that I should complete my education at finishing school in Switzerland.
I imagine it's no trivial matter running a sizable estate.
And that's why I've been fortunate enough to have the wise old head of my aunt to help me.
In what way?
Whilst I've been away, she's looked after the household. But she's not the reason why I've come here.
Then pray continue.
After I returned 2 months ago, I had a strange experience. I was sitting in the drawing room with my aunt one evening when something curious happened. Is it that late already?
Yes, it's time for bed, Constance.
I'll just finish this page, and then I'll turn in. Aunt!
What is it, child?
Did you see that?
Don't talk in riddles.
My book, the pages turn by themselves.
It must be your imagination, dear.
No, I am certain they just turn by themselves.
Perhaps it was a gust of wind.
But all the windows are shut.
Why don't I go and see if Cook will make you a cup of hot milk? It will quiet your nerves down.
No, don't leave me on my own.
You're being silly. There's really nothing to concern yourself about.
I'm sure you're right. It's just...
Well?
I felt a presence in the room with us. Something hateful. Something evil. And that was the first time it came, Mr. Lee.
But not the last.
No, and each time it has become more violent towards me. But yesterday night was the final straw. I was lying awake in bed when I thought I'd heard a noise downstairs, so I got up to see what it was. There it is again. I knew I heard something. Perhaps if I stand at the top of the stairs, I might see who it is. Ah!
Constance! Constance, are you all right?
Yes, I think so.
You must learn to be more careful, child. You might not be so fortunate next time you trip and fall down the stairs.
I didn't fall. I was pushed.
By whom? There's no one else here.
It was that wretched ghost. It tried to kill me. And so I decided to contact you, Mr. Lee.
I'm glad you did.
Then you can help me.
Perhaps. If you're amenable, I suggest we travel down with you to Grange Manor later this afternoon.
That would be most satisfactory.
Before we commence our investigation, I should like to give you something.
What is it?
A silver necklace I've had fashioned.
It's an interesting design. A 5-sided star within a circle.
I should be honored if you would wear it.
It's very kind of you, but I'm not sure it would be appropriate to accept such a gift.
It is no mere charm. The pentagram also serves to protect.
If you think it important,
I do.
then I shall wear it at all times.
There's one last point before you leave.
Yes.
Forgive the impertinence, but I should like to ask a little more about your aunt.
You may ask whatever you like, but I feel certain she has nothing to do with the haunting.
Tell me, has your aunt held any seances at Grange Manor?
In the past, yes, but you must understand her hobby is not one of which I approve.
Many don't.
That is why I've asked my aunt not to conduct such gatherings whilst I am home.
And did she agree?
She has assured me that the last seance she held was on the night of my return. Even then, I wouldn't have been in the house if an engagement hadn't been cancelled.
I understand that your aunt acts purely as a psychical medium.
That's right. So you see, she really can't have anything to do with it.
Thank you, Miss Scott-Hampton. I think that's all for now.
Then I shall meet you at the station later on. Good day to you both.
Well, what do you make of it, Bennett? There are dark deeds going on at Grange Manor, are there not?
If that ghost really wishes to harm her, I don't fancy her chances much.
Perhaps you're right.
Lee, there was one point I failed to understand.
Being?
The significance of her aunt being a psychical medium.
Did you know that there are two principal types of medium?
No, I can't say I did.
Put it simply, a medium acts as a conduit between this world and the next.
Like a telegraph receiver.
In a way, yes. Now, there are two mechanisms to deliver messages from the dead. The first way is to channel the voices of the spirits directly through oneself.
I have read of mediums going into trances and speaking with voices of the dead.
Part of their consciousness is given over to the spirit, allowing them to communicate through the medium.
That, I take it, is a psychical medium.
Indeed. The second method is by picking up vibrations in the ether made by spirits and translating them into physical movement.
You mean by spelling out messages on Ouija boards or through knocks on a table?
Quite right. They are known as physical mediums.
I see.
Only in more extreme cases, a physical medium can enable a spirit to interact with a person.
Like pushing someone down the stairs.
It's possible. They could also facilitate poltergeist activity.
Like the throwing of china.
Yes.
But Miss Scott-Hampton's aunt, she is purely a psychical medium.
So I believe.
And those occurrences could not have been caused by her.
No, it's quite impossible.
Then what is behind the attacks on Miss Scott-Hampton?
That is what we must find out.
So this is Grange Manor.
What do you think of her?
Most impressive.
She has a wonderfully checkered history.
Really?
My family took it over from the Longfields centuries ago. The line ended when Sir Hubert was hanged for murdering his wife.
Sounds like a charming fellow.
And there, can you see the pot marks in the stone?
They look like they were made by gunshots.
They date from when Grange Manor was captured during the Civil War.
Allow me to assist you down from the carriage.
Thank you. My aunt should be home. I can introduce you if you wish.
Yes, I should like that very much.
Miss Scott-Hampton?
Yes.
Do you keep guard dogs?
No. It's been an old custom never to keep dogs here. No one quite knows why.
That's funny. I thought I heard... There it is again.
Yes. I heard it too. But I can't see anything.
Quickly! Everyone in the house! I can't! Something's got my leg! Lee, it's going for my throat!
Miss Scotthampton, you must get inside!
But Mr. Bennet!
I shall help him, now go!
Lee, get it off me!
I'm doing my best, but I can't even see the beast!
It's trying to kill me!
Let go, you brute!
Lee. It's gone.
Are you all right?
Just a few cuts and bruises, that's all.
Let me help you up.
What was that thing? Some kind of invisible fiend from hell?
It appeared to be a physical manifestation of a hound. But from where it came, I couldn't tell you.
The brute would have had me too if I hadn't got my hands up in time. Ugh, I can smell its putrid breath.
So long as you're all right now.
Yes, I'm okay.
Then come, let us see how Miss Scotthampton is.
I assure you, I'm perfectly fine. After all, it was Mr. Bennet who took the brunt of the attack.
Really, it was nothing.
But your hand is bleeding.
You'll soon find out that Bennet is made of stern stuff.
Yes, I can see that.
What is also clear is that you are no longer safe in this house.
But this is my home.
Nevertheless, for now you must stay elsewhere. Go and gather your effects, and then Bennet and I will take you back to London.
If you think it for the best.
I most certainly do.
Very well. I shan't be long.
You think the danger is great?
Greater than I have let Miss Scotthampton know.
Constance, is that... Oh, you must excuse me. I didn't know we had visitors.
Mrs. Isabel Beauchamp?
Yes?
Allow me to introduce myself. I am Mr. Jerrem Lee.
I've heard of you, of course.
And this is Mr. Arthur Bennet.
Delighted to meet you.
Perhaps you would kindly tell me what you are doing here.
Your niece sent for us. She is in great fear for her safety.
But there is nothing here that can harm her.
Then you have your own theories about why she feels as she does.
The poor child has been under terrible pressure since her parents died. I'm beginning to think that her mental faculties have been affected.
Then you have not witnessed any of the attacks on your niece?
Not one. It's all in her mind. And I feel any doctor would agree with me. Why, last night, she even tried to blame a ghost when she tripped and fell down the stairs.
You make it sound like she should be in a sanatorium.
If that's what it takes to get her better, then so be it.
But if we were to find evidence of the supernatural, then we might prove her case.
Mr. Bennet, I am one of the foremost mediums in the country. I have felt nothing wrong.
Still, Bennet is right. If we are to spend some time at Grange Manor, we might prove matters either way.
Of course you're welcome to stay, but I fear you won't find anything amiss.
Lee, we've been here for 3 days now, and we've not seen a thing.
Revealing, isn't it?
If you ask me, it's been a complete waste of time.
On the contrary, the absence of activity has been most informative.
I fail to see how. And all you've done is lock yourself up in this library and read. I say, what are you looking at?
Here, see for yourself.
The history of Grange Manor.
Miss Scotthampton was right. There has been a lot of blood spilt here in the past.
Oh?
And what's more, I think that Isabel Beauchamp isn't the first in the family to possess powers to communicate to the dead.
Really?
I'm quite certain of it.
Then what do you propose to do next?
There is more than one way to skin a cat, Bennet. Are you free tomorrow evening?
You know I am.
Good. Then meet me at my club for a drink. There's someone I'd like you to meet. And there's our guest now. Over here, Colonel.
It's good to see you again, Lee.
You too, Colonel. Care for a drink?
Better not. Doctor's orders and all that.
Then take a seat. Bennet, this is Colonel Lawson.
Retired of the Imperial Light Cavalry.
Pleased to meet you.
So, Lee, why did you ask me here? Not for idle gossip, I imagine?
Hardly. You've documented most of Isabel Beauchamp's seances, have you not?
As you know, my role as secretary to the Psychical Research Society means I chronicle such proceedings.
And did you ever attend any seances at Grange Manor?
Indeed I did, right up to the final one.
Would you mind sharing your experience with us? It might prove enlightening.
I'd be delighted. Well, let me see now. It was just over 2 months ago when I last went there. Isabel was her usual commanding self.
Now, is everybody settled?
Yes, we're ready, Isabel.
Good. Then I shall turn down the lights. It helps to get the right atmosphere when preparing to engage those from the spirit world. Is there anyone in particular you would like me to try to contact tonight?
I should like to hear from my dead husband again.
Of course, Mrs. Chapman. Colonel, how about you?
Well, I have no relatives, but there's someone I would like to speak to.
Yes?
It strikes me that an old house such as this must have a fascinating history. I should like to hear from one of the previous occupants.
Very well. We shall see what spirits are with us tonight. Now, I want you all to place your hands on the table in front of you with your thumbs touching each other. That's it. Now move your hands forward until they touch. I need everybody to shut their eyes. Concentrate on my voice. Oh, spirits of the dead, hear me now. We are ready to receive your messages from the other side. Is there anyone who wishes to contact us tonight? Yes. I can feel something. Yes. There is someone there.
Is it him? Is it my husband?
Please, spirit, give me a name. I am Sir Hubert Longfield. This is my house.
What message do you have for the people here tonight?
You are not welcome here. You are not welcome in my home.
But we mean you no harm, Sir Hubert.
I am the lord of this manor, and no woman will ever take my place.
He's talking about Isabel's niece who returned here tonight.
Hear us, Sir Hubert Longfield. We on this plane only wish to live in peace with you.
I won't allow that to happen. There will be no peace whilst a woman is lord here.
Did you feel that? The table, it moved. There it is again.
It's getting stronger. Isabel, you must break the link. Isabel, try to break the link. Isabel, are you all right?
Yes. I think so.
Here, drink this.
Thank you.
What happened?
He was so strong, so angry.
Who was it?
Someone who used to live here a long time ago.
The table. Has it ever done that before?
No, you need to be a physical medium to create such effects. I couldn't have caused the table to move by itself.
Then someone else must be channeling the spirit's anger.
Yes, you're right. But who is it?
Enlightening, is it not, Bennett?
I fail to see how it helps us.
That hellish hound that attacked you. Surely you realized it was only when Miss Constance Scott Hampton left us that it disappeared.
Well, yes, I suppose. I just hadn't thought of it that way.
The throwing of vases, pushing down stairs, rattling of a table, they all require a physical medium to be nearby.
Yes, but...
Don't you see? There was only one person common to all those events.
You mean Miss Scott Hampton is a physical medium?
Indeed I do.
But why didn't she tell us?
Because she has no idea.
Is that possible?
Think about all the houses which are supposed to be haunted, yet for years no one sees or hears anything. Then a new family arrives and apparitions begin to manifest themselves.
Because one of them is a medium without knowing it.
He is quite right. I could tell you of countless cases of ghosts returning after years of absence.
What's more, if you had read the history of Grange Manor, you would realize that there are several accounts which suggest that the ability to channel spirits runs in their family.
You mean both physical and psychical mediums?
Yes, indeed.
So this spirit which is attacking Miss Scott Hampton might have been in the house for decades.
If not longer. Colonel, you said that at the seance a Sir Hubert Longfield was contacted.
Yes, a most fearsome fellow.
The book I read mentioned a Sir Hubert Longfield in the 1500s who lived at Grange Manor.
Really?
He was hung for murdering his wife after she conspired to take control of the manor from him.
Oh.
He pushed her down the stairs, breaking her neck. It was witnessed by a servant who he then set his dogs on.
Well, I must admit, it does sound like our man.
Indeed it does. And thank you, Colonel. Your help has been invaluable.
Always happy to oblige, Lee. You know that.
Do you think Isabelle Beauchamp knows her niece is a physical medium?
Remember the last seance held was on the night of Constance's return. Her aunt must have realized the physical reaction happened because she was in the house.
Then why hasn't she told her?
That is what we've returned to Grange Manor to find out.
And you're positive we won't be attacked by phantom hounds again?
If my theory is correct. Still, I must admit, I feel all the better for the protection we are carrying.
You mean the silver pentagrams and herbs?
Not to mention the revolvers, Bennett.
Look, there's a light over there. Someone's leaving the house.
It's Isabelle Beauchamp.
I wonder where she's going at this time of night.
I have an idea.
Really?
Yes, the book I studied contained a map. The Grange Manor Mausoleum is this way. Quietly, does it? She mustn't know she's being followed.
I can see a light ahead.
She must be down in the crypt. Come, we must try to find out what her game is. Wait. I can see her.
What is she doing?
She's holding her hands over one of the sepulchres.
Sir Hubert Longfield, hear my voice across the void between our realms.
She's trying to contact Sir Hubert again.
I hear you, wench.
Dear God, he's speaking to her through her own mouth.
Yes, that is how psychical mediums communicate with the spirits.
We have done well, Sir Hubert. Constance will never set foot in this house again. And if she does, I'll have her committed to an asylum. Then Grange Manor is finally returned to me. Returned to us. I am to be the custodian of the house for those on the plane of the living. No, this house must be mine, and mine alone. But we agreed. I make no agreements with the living. You seem to forget, Sir Hubert. Without my niece being here, you have no means to physically harm me. There are other ways to make you suffer. Get out of my head! I can't take it!
Lee, we must do something!
No! No! No!
Quickly, Bennett!
No!
We're too late.
What do you mean?
She's dead. The mental strain was too great for her. Miss Scott Hampton, we are most sorry to hear of the death of your aunt.
You are very kind.
She was found by one of the gardeners, I believe.
Yes. It's still a mystery what she was doing in the mausoleum.
It must be a difficult time for you.
Even more so, as I still don't know if I can safely return to Grange Manor.
There, at least, I think I can assist.
You can.
In the family crypt you will find a tomb of a man. I have written his name on this card.
Sir Hubert Longfield.
You must arrange for his body to be removed and buried outside of the parish.
I shall see to it at once.
His coffin should be inlaid with these symbols in silver.
They are not ones I recognize.
They will help protect you.
And this will stop the haunting.
Completely.
Then I don't know how to thank you.
There is only one thing I ask.
Name it, Mr. Lee, and you shall have it.
If you ever encounter similar difficulties, you will contact me again.
There you have my assurance. You too, Mr. Bennet.
We will always be here to assist you, should you ever need us.
Thank you.
Then a good day to you, and I wish you well for the future.
Lee, you didn't tell her about her powers as a medium.
No, I think it's safer that way.
Perhaps you're right.
And should they cause her difficulties once more, we must do what we can for her.
It's hard to believe that anyone could be so vindictive towards her.
It's not just the living that can be spiteful, Bennet. We must always remember that.
You have been listening to Jerrem Lee Ghost Hunter, and tonight's episode, The Mystery of Grange Manor, starring Jerry Robbins as Jerrem Lee and Jeremy Benson as Arthur Bennet. Featured were Ashley Morton as Constance Scott Hampton, Cynthia Pape as Isabel Beecham, and Sam Donato as Colonel Lawson. Also heard was Diane Capon as Mrs. Chapman. Jerrem Lee Ghost Hunter was created and written by Gareth Tilley and produced by MJ Cogburn. The executive producer was Mark Vanderberg, and the program was directed by Jerry Robbins, with music by Jeffrey Gage. Additional music by Kevin MacLeod. For the Colonial Radio Theatre on the Air, this is David Alt speaking.
This has been a production of the Colonial Radio Theatre on Brilliance Audio. For further information concerning this program or other Brilliance Audio titles, please call the following toll-free number, 1-800-222-3225, or visit our website at brillianceaudio.com. No part of this recording may be played for an audience or reproduced in any form. It may not be streamed, downloaded, broadcast, or copied without written permission. Address all inquiries to Brilliance Audio, P.O. Box 887, Grand Haven, Michigan, 49417.